Welcome everyone and all. You have probably rushed, walked, maybe you stumbled into one of the Wager Talk family of sports information portals. I'm Tony Finn. This is a quick daily video preview, complimentary selection, should we say, from a wide range of vast groups of sports consultants, me being the littlest of the sports consultants. They're a diversified group. They're informed. They do a great job. So hopefully I can tag along or jump on and piggyback with somebody that will watch me, and maybe we'll even and I will even give you a winner. We're going to talk about one game and one game only in this shoot, and that's from the National Basketball Association. It's going to be the New York Knicks visiting the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the hottest team. I guess we can say that. I mean, it's subjective to a degree, but the hottest team in the NBA right now might be the New York Knicks. They are 5-1 or 6-1, 7-1 actually, straight against the spread, 6-2 depending on what final score and what final line that you've used for their games. But in a nutshell, the group is playing really well, and they just got back. Maybe arguably their best offensive player, at least the player that fits to this profile and their first five well enough that they're about 21. It's a small sample size, guys, but they're 21 points better per 100 possessions with Barrett in the lineup. They also play a little faster with Barrett in the lineup, and they play a little less defense with him as well. He's never going to be a guy who makes an all-defensive team. But they have their defensive pieces. The New York Knicks do, especially, let's say, Mitchell at center in the paint, a great rim protector, and a guy that just, if he's in there and he's healthy, which is always the question with him, then this is a Knicks team that does a great job rebounding on the offensive glass and also do a great job of defending the defensive glass and not giving up those cheap second chance points. They're covering. The Knicks are doing a good job also against spread, like I mentioned. They're covering about 6.9, 7 points per game in their last 8 in total. Now, and they're thriving, really. They're thriving with Barrett in the lineup and playing his 30-plus minutes. Through 10 games, they are, again, 21.2 points per 100 better when Barrett, young guy, 23-year-old, is in the game. Straight up, they're 5-2 when he starts. Without him, they're 0-3. And I'm talking big, I'm talking big, and I'm offering the New York Knicks some butt slaps and some attaboys because they're a group that I have been very successful with when I handicap them. I seem to have my arms wrapped around this team and know when they're going to be good, when they're not going to be good. And the same goes with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I should say, though, with the exception this year, I have played Minnesota twice, and we have dropped both of those selections, and it's been a pretty good start to the NBA season. I think I'm about 50 units ahead already, and we're not a month into the season. Not only is that the case with the NBA, it's also the case with the college hoops, too, which has started out really, really well. I'd love to keep it going. This kind of work that I do here helps me do such. Now, what we're going to do is real quickly talk about this game tonight. Just a few nuts and bolts of what you should know about head coach Tom Thibodeau and how he handles how the hunchback. And I say that in a loving way, but he always seems to be hunched over and always seems to be angry when he's on the sidelines. And that's just who he is. It's always been a great coach with a great defensive mind, too. This is a team that when he took over the Knicks, when he first stepped in, they were real defensive heavy. And here's the deal. They struggled in games that were close, in 1, 2, 3 possession games that within 6 points. They struggled because they really didn't have a go-to offensive player. This is before, they changed the lineup. And that happened 2 years ago at the end of the season, and it carried over into last season. And with the changes in the lineup, they have become less defensive. And that just happens when you insert Grimes into the starting lineup, who was not in that starting lineup back in 21, or 21-22. Julius Randle, also a great offensive player, not a heavy defensive, a guy I would trust defensively. although he works hard, plays hard, and is dynamic with the ball in his hand and on the offensive end of the floor. Mr. Robinson, defensive heavy. Barrett not, Grimes not, and definitely Jalen Brunson not. Jalen Brunson is actually a little bit of a liability at the top of the key. With some of the bigger guards in the league, he has to actually switch off, and the Knicks do several things that are scheme related to cover, which is really a little bit of a weak link. But again, Brunson's a dynamic offensive player, and that's what Thibodeau has gone to with these Knicks. Now, I should say, with the caveat there as well, is that they have been better in the short sample size this year defensively than they were last year. But outside of being able to protect the paint, and that's what they do. Basically, they have a kind of a sag or a fallback defense that dares you. At least they say, listen, beat us from the 3-point line first. And if you get hot, then we'll make adjustments. And that's the case. You're not going to score much in the paint against Mitchell and against even physical guys like Randall. Randall and Barrett can be physical. He's just not that great of a defensive hand when you have your first five, or at least your five cards that you went to the center circle with. Tonight, the Timberwolves have made big changes over the last year. They did a big trade to get Rudy Gobert in the middle there, so they could be in the middle of the paint, so they could be more defensive as well. This team hangs their hat on being defensive now. Knicks, who are 19th in points allowed per possession, doesn't really compare to what the Minnesota's doing. They have been up and down a little bit because of the sample size we have, and we don't have a lot of data right now. And so one bad game can really skew your chart. But for the most part, this is one of the top 5 defensive teams in the NBA, and that's what they do. They do well, especially at home. They're 5-0 in the last 5 games at home, haven't been beat there yet this year. That's where they are, back from a 5-game road trip. They're back at Target Center in Minneapolis with the Knicks coming into town. This game's essentially a pick'em. It's a pick'em and a total in an NBA game that's become, it keeps climbing and keeps climbing. But right now, the average total is about 220 per game. For the Knicks, a little bit less than that, and for the Timberwolves, a little bit less than that. Not a lot of second chance points are going to come Minnesota's way, and they do a good job again of preventing or containing the defensive glass. And the Knicks live and die. They eat what they kill, and usually what they kill is second chance points. As much as I've talked about how much I like the Knicks and what Randall's shooting, even though he's still only 34% from the 3-point line, he'll get better as the season goes along. But Thibodeau, he's dropped several different versions of the same lineup throughout the first few weeks of the season, and he's made some sacrifices, mostly because Barrett hasn't been healthy. But Grimes is a key. Barrett's a key. But more so than anything else for the Knicks is they win or they lose. Their success and failures lie in second chance points and offensive rebounds. Minnesota doesn't give them up. Tonight at Target Center, one of the early games, or at least in the early window of the NBA schedule during the weekdays, you're going to find the Knicks at Minnesota, or Knicks versus the Timberwolves in Minnesota. And the Fin Factor play, at least in my opinion, the Fin Factor pick the click is a play on the Minnesota Timberwolves minus a small number at home. Thanks for dropping by. I'll be here as much as I can every day. You can tune in and again, view all the handicappers here at Sports Memo, Wager Talk, all those that do the videos and everything. The good news, it's free. Have a great day.